Hi, this is Autohaus Hamilton TV, and I'm James, allegedly. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long while, but finding the correct tone has always held me back. The topic for this video is why you should support Australian Porsche parts businesses, in particular this one, instead of buying from overseas online stores. And the short answer is that it's in your own interest to do so. Can we get the titles in here, please? Recently, I had a customer call me for a quote on some parts for a manual 986 Boxster. He provided a list of parts, I provided a quote, which came to a whisker over $2,500. There were filters, there were transmission mounts, gearbox mounts, suspension components, oil seals, and so on. Look, he said, I'd be happy to buy from you if you were close, but really you're miles out. I can buy those things online overseas for about half of that. So I checked, and I found out he was right. You can buy the same parts from overseas for about half of what I wanted. Kind of. Only not so much. The basket value, like for like, was $1,200. Add the cheapest freight option, another $140, and that brings the total to $1,340. Only these are American dollars, so converting to the Aussie dollary-do at a sensible exchange rate, which you may or may not get from your bank, comes to around $2,000.
$900 dollary-doos!
$2,000 Australian. So half now becomes about 80% of the price. But wait, because you know there's more. Add in duties, add GST, and a card fee, which is likely to be 3%, and suddenly half the price turns into a premium of around 5%, possibly less if your credit card is not at the best possible rate. But for this exercise, we'll call it a 5% premium. So what do you get for that 5% premium? In this case, the customer had also asked for a transmission filter, seal, and gasket. Now, those parts are for a Tiptronic, and his car is a manual. So straight up, I was able to advise the customer that those parts were not really relevant. Well, those parts were not relevant at all for his car. So that saved more than the 5% difference already. This customer also balked at my price on one of the pairs of suspension arms and told me that he could buy the same part for a fraction of what I was asking. The same part number, quite possibly, but not the same brand. And brands do make a difference. The brands that I sell are the brands that Autohaus Hamilton uses in the workshop. Those aren't necessarily the cheapest, but they are likely to present the best value. There are some parts where the workshop will only use genuine Porsche parts, and in those cases I will generally give you the option of genuine or an aftermarket brand, and I'll also highlight the differences between them. So an example here is 911 engine mounts. The Porsche part runs to about 3 times the price of an aftermarket equivalent. The difference is that the Porsche part lasts better, where the aftermarket one tends to sag a lot sooner than the genuine Porsche one does. Now, whether you think that's worth paying the premium or not is a matter for you to decide. And the calculus will change somewhat if you're running a workshop and your concern is not having an angry, upset customer calling to complain that his engine is sitting a whole lot lower than what it really ought to. Here's another thing you get for your 5%. A different customer wanted a pair of front wings for an impact bumper 911. He went online and bought genuine Porsche panels from an overseas supplier, assuming and expecting that that would be cheaper than buying locally. Now, the thing is, there are wide body turbo front guards, there are narrow body guards such as used on an SC or a Carrera 3.2, and there are also the very narrow guards such as used on the K-Jet 2.7 911s. The first thing to point out is that buying the panels from a Porsche dealership in Australia would have been cheaper and faster than buying them online. In this case, the customer assumed that the price difference between Australia and overseas would more than cover the cost of freight, duties, and so on, and went ahead and ordered and bought online. Secondly, and you've probably seen this point coming for a while now, it's easy to buy the wrong thing. So that 5% provides for the expertise to steer you towards the correct part for your car, and also covers the peace of mind where if I tell you, hey, your car needs this part, and it turns out that I'm wrong, that becomes my problem, not your problem. The buck stops with me. Here's another way where it's very easy to buy the wrong thing. Porsche's parts diagrams, even filtering with the vehicle's VIN, are not always 100% accurate. This is particularly true around model changeovers. So, as a for instance, it's not unheard of for very early 997 Carreras to use the same brake pads as 996 Carreras we're using. It's a different part number. The differences are the shape of the backing material and the brake pad sensors that you need to use. So for an early 997, you can go and use the vehicle's VIN and think you're selecting the correct part, and when you get what should be the correct part, you can discover your vehicle is still running 996 brake pads. Now, if you're dealing with somebody in Australia, that's very quick and easy to resolve. When you're dealing with somebody several time zones and thousands of kilometers away, even with the best will in the world, it's not always easy to get that quickly resolved. The final point I'd like to make relates to availability. If you call me looking for a particular part, I can tell you whether I have it in stock, and if I don't have it in stock, I can tell you roughly how long it'll take me to get it for you. Now, in the world of online retailing, everything is always available all the time, and that may not be 100% true. Many online retailers, because it makes sense to do so, list things for sale that they don't physically have in stock. And a lot of the time, that's not a problem because they've got their supply chains sorted out, so within a day or two they can get their parts shipped out. But it does mean that they may be listing parts that are difficult to get hold of, if not impossible. I'm not accusing anyone of fraud here. All I'm saying is that if that's the case, it does take a while to resolve and get your money back. About 100 years ago, the then Premier of New South Wales, Jack Lang, advised, always back the horse called self-interest. At least you know it's trying. As ever, thank you very much for watching.